Right there.
Yeah. Okay, Alice is also on speakerphone, so I don't know how it's gonna work with the two speakerphones, but we'll try.
Well, she's getting on.
Okay. All right, so until in the next few minutes that we elect an interim chair and secretary, I'm just gonna call the meeting to order. So we're calling the meeting to order at what time, Randy?
Let me make sure. 11:14.
11:15 a.m. We're calling the meeting to order. In attendance, we currently have all those considered, which is Randy, Zach, Stacy, Alice, and myself, Lori. Each one of you's got the email of the agenda. If you'd please look it over quickly. And I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Anybody second the motion?
Second.
All right, agenda's approved. So moving into new business, the first thing we need to do is appoint a temporary chair and secretary until we get articles of incorporation established. So, Stacy, I'm assuming you would like to be chair?
That would be great.
Okay, so I make a motion to have Stacy appointed as the temporary chair. Anybody want to second it? Alice seconds the motion. Anybody opposed? All approved, say aye. Motion carries. All right. Next one is going to be who's going to be temporary secretary. Alice, you want to be temporary secretary?
I can do that.
Okay. I nominate Alice for temporary secretary. Anybody want to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Anybody opposed? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right, so Stacy is the temporary chair for this organization. Alice is the temporary secretary for this organization. And we move forward to the development of the organization's name, which actually starts our bylaws. Okay, so if you open up, I kind of sent you guys, I was lucky enough to find a very nice template. Do you have to take that call?
No.
Okay. So I know, Stacy, I try to keep you in the loop, but you and Zach have the same email, so I don't know if he sometimes got it, you didn't get it, or how that works. So,
I looked over it last night.
okay, great. So the unmasked, in and of itself, just the UNMASKED, I think it was, is not available. We can
Yeah, it was already taken.
we can do variations thereof. I know Alice had suggested the hyphenated, unhyphenated, masked, or just drop the ED, unmask. So the first thing we need to entertain is the legal name.
Well, y'all got any more suggestions?
Nope. That's not my baby. I'm literally just putting this together right now, but it's up to you guys.
No, you got anything? I mean, does it
Either
need?
hyphenated, or I noticed there was another one on there that had a map, had like something else behind it.
Yep.
Unless we have unmasked and have the Tyler Project, something like that behind it to make it different. Something like that.
I think any of those are fine. Alice, any input?
Unmasked.
Yeah.
So I like hyphen and then just the hyphenated map. To get the name, to make it simple and make it where people can remember it.
So you're saying UN-MASK.
ED.
ED, okay. Anybody opposed to that? All right, so I'm going to make a motion. Zach, what were you gonna say? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to name the organization UN-MASKED. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Randy second. Randy second. Anybody have opposed? All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, got a name.
Hey,
First order of business accomplished. I love it. Let's keep going then. So the next is going to be developing, we're going to go through the bylaws here. That's going to take so long, but developing the articles of incorporation. I know me and Alice have discussed this. I think I would be willing to swing a bat at it, but, if we have any funding, I would almost say for $300, just get an attorney to do it so that it's a safety net.
Yeah.
But, this is something up for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put the money on it.
You'll put the money towards it?
Yeah, well, I just want it done right. Like, I don't wanna go in there and, you
Well,
know,
the thing is, once we incorporate it, you can write that as a tax write-off, a donation to the organization.
I'll put half to it.
there you go.
All right, so,
Thank you.
all right, so Alice, as secretary, if you would, and I have some resources for you, but if you would look into, obtaining or, an attorney or legal organization that will put together articles of incorporation. I've seen, basically for about $300 is probably the best rate that I've seen.
Okay.
Okay. Now we get into the development and adoption of these bylaws. Buckle your seatbelts, guys. This is where it gets real. Okay.
That's fine.
All right. We've already got Article 1, the name of the organization, complete. Corporate purpose, it's pretty much standard language that's used. So really moving on to the specific purpose, and that's going to be defining the objectives of this organization. And you want to keep them broad so that we can expand in the future. You can always also vote to change bylaws, etc. So without being too specific, what are the objectives? And that's kind of hard because that's where I keep talking about finding the gaps in what services are needed out there. So if we just keep it really broad, it'd probably be really helpful. Just like education, awareness, implementation, those types of words.
I agree with that.
Yes, I wanna do all three of those. Yep.
Stacey, you're so easy to work with.
I am.
All right, so, but, okay. So you want awareness,
Yes.
and education. What are we implementing? Are we implementing programs? Are we implementing?
Yes, I would like to implement the programs. I like to do it, I'd like to get it in schools.
Okay. So we need to look at some curriculum that's already out there for suicide prevention and awareness. See what organizations are using and what they're not using.
Okay.
And of course, always getting into schools is difficult. A springboard to that sometimes is getting into Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brother, Big Sister, where you have vulnerable populations. And like here local, we have an organization called Girls Inc. You know, it's it focuses on adolescent females, raising us, you know, coming up as leaders, really in vulnerable populations. So, Alice, do you want to take on developing the objectives, or do you want me to take on developing the objectives? And we're going to send the bylaws out for an internal board vote. We'll talk about that further down, how we do that on one of the bylaws. But do you want to take on developing the objectives, or do you want me to?
I would rather that you do that.
Okay. I should say, I'm sorry, Stacey, would you like to develop the objectives?
I can do that.
Okay.
On both y'all work on it. I feel like both y'all do better.
You're in town tomorrow? You're in town tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be in town tomorrow.
All right. So me and you can talk about that then.
Yes.
Again, keeping them broad, but still specific enough to move forward. All right. Membership. Okay. Do we have any eligibility requirements for somebody that wants to help participate in the organization? Do we have any eligibility requirements for somebody that wants to participate in the organization?
What a background check is.
I mean, a background check is good.
Yeah. Probably age.
Okay. 18 and over, adult.
Yeah, probably 18 and over.
Okay.
I know, let's see.
Now, when we say background check, we need to be very specific as well.
You're not talking fingerprint.
No, we're not talking
Yeah,
bonded
just-
background
yeah,
check, but
fine.
usually it's a $10 or $20 fee, and you send it to the state, and it comes back. that you don't have any
felonies, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
child abuse,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
those types of things,
Right.
especially if we're focusing on adolescents. So, all right, we'll define that. And that will come out with the bylaws for approval. All right, I'm gonna look at what's available, because I don't know the state of Florida. I know PA, I know Texas.
I mean, this might be ahead of this, I mean, is this for like, we're not talking to children at this point, I mean.
We're not talking to children at this
okay,
point,
so
but if
it's-
somebody
it's
says,
never one-on-one, or is it
I
one-on-one?
think we could do that as far as like the organization. If you're part of the organization, you should be able to talk to somebody.
okay,
You'll probably have to have some training of some sort.
that's what I was gonna say. You're probably gonna want someone with some type of,
Yes.
social work, like you're gonna say, some type of a certification, because you can do more harm than good. And if you're dealing with mental health issues, which is what this is all gonna define under, you really wanna make sure that you don't put the organization in a vulnerable position of a
Yeah.
lawsuit if something was to
Yes.
go
Let's say
wrong.
I was a soccer coach.
Right.
I was never one-on-one with a girl. That's
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just to cover yourself.
Exactly, and we really
Okay.
need to define some of that out. Let me actually,
Well,
so
maybe
that'll be a
find-
little bit further down
Yeah,
in
look,
these
yeah,
bylaws,
that's what
but
was on my head, I just wanted.
define
Yeah.
child-adult contact.
I didn't mean to get out of the.
And it might be that they have to have a certain status of membership in order to do that.
Yeah,
You know, if a member wants to help us with a fundraising event, that's fine, maybe they don't even need a background check, but if you want to work directly with the population, then you have to meet certain criteria, and that may be a tiered membership, where if you're tier 1, hey, help us with the fundraising, help us with, you know, whatever. If you're a tier 2, you have to have certain background checks.
Right.
Does that sound objectionable to anybody, or does that sound okay?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, so,
that is together.
and we may be able to find out from the government, because there's all kinds of programs out there. There may be a training program that you can get, you know, go online, do it, get some type of government certification that says that you have done it. I mean,
Well,
we do with human trafficking all the time.
I think we need it, don't you?
But yeah, I mean, you know, I know a lot of people that done committed suicide, and I know a lot of people that have too, so I'm not
Yeah.
wanting to.
Wanted to.
Right.
Same.
Oh, hell, I grew up a risk cutter, you know, so, yeah, you know.
But I wouldn't know where to start.
But
That's part of this whole discovery process, which is why when I said we were looking at all this like cool stuff and wanting to do this stuff, I'm like, we really need to define who this organization is, what the objectives are, so that the organization is not vulnerable to causing more damage than good. You know, so that's why I kind of forced y'all to come here.
fine. But I do think, I mean, maybe we look at it and just see, you know, about some training for all of us where we can, you know.
You know, Stacy, the vigil we're going to tomorrow night,
Yes, and it's life management.
yes,
I noticed they're pretty big in Lynn Haven. They may have some.
so they may have some, they handle a lot of different areas, and they'll probably be a great resource for us to tap into.
Okay, great.
And like I was even talking yesterday, so I was at my human trafficking board meeting, and Gulf Coast Child Advocacy Centers were there, and you know, we were talking a little bit, but everybody agrees that there still needs to be more suicide prevention and awareness. Suicide, if y'all have the article, suicide rates have gone up here since Hurricane Michael, understandably
Yes.
so. So there's a need in this community, it's just defining what need we fill, you know, is gonna be part of the discovery. All right, so just moving on with membership. I'm gonna put out there, I kind of say no, but we need to discuss, is there annual dues to be a member of this club or this organization? I don't foresee that being, but I mean, it's not uncommon sometimes to have board members, you know, pay $50 a year to be on the board or something like that for an organization.
Okay.
I'm fine either way, I just wanna make sure it's discussed, because it's gotta be in the bylaws.
Okay, we're just not gonna do this right now. We don't think so right now. You know,
Okay.
maybe in
No
the
dues,
future.
no dues now, possibly in the future, right?
Okay.
And everything is certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we're good. We don't have any other members to really discuss non-voting categories and so forth, resignations, terminations. I mean, all that's just gonna be standard language unless somebody has something they wanna put into it. And again, once this is drafted, it'll go to everybody for all of your input, okay? All right, so the next is gonna be meetings of members, all right? Moving on to section 4. So we need to have at least a meeting quarterly. I think we know we'll probably meet more than that, but does anybody object to or have anything that they need to add to that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so a minimum of quarterly meetings, right?
Okay.
And we can always make it more because there's areas here for specialty meetings and subcommittees. And if you don't mind, for now, I'm just gonna use standard language on that, and we can adjust the bylaws through voting down the road. Does that work?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then the last thing, official notification of meeting. Is everybody okay if email becomes our official venue of notification?
Yes, that's
Good
fine.
with me.
What was that? Alice?
Good with me.
Yes. Excellent. Hey, we're already on to Article 5. All right, this is the Board of Directors. This is us, folks, okay? Technically, we should stagger the tenure of the board, possibly discuss 1, 2, and 3-year appointments so that it's not a complete change of the board at all times. So technically, you need to have 3 members, no more really than 15 as far as officers go. Standard is your 4, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. Anybody just want to go with 3, which would be eliminating a vice president, or does anybody want to go with more than 4? Speak up.
Now, we'll just do minimal right now. Can we add 2 if we, as,
Right, they don't have to
as
be,
we get bigger?
yes, and they don't actually have to be titled either.
Okay, all right.
So, it's gonna get real sticky in a minute. If you guys had not pre-read these, you're in for a big surprise. Like, you keep talking now. Okay. So, we'll go with a 4,
Yes,
and that's where everyone's got to start thinking about what position they want to hold because, hold on to your seat, folks, if you flip the page, no 2 members of the board of directors related by blood or marriage, domestic partnership within a second degree may serve on the board of directors at the same time.
Hey.
We have a conflict of interest, guys.
Oh, I see
Oh,
that.
no, I'm good, look, listen, I'm perfectly fine sitting out of this.
You could be a member.
Yeah.
You just can't be a voting member.
Oh, that ain't no fun. I'm just joking. It's fine.
We could, okay, so here's the thing.
Swap up every other one. Yeah, can we do every other one?
Here's the thing, we could do this. We could create our own bylaw that says, this is where I wanted everybody to make sure that we're here and we're listening to each other. We could make our own bylaw that says we cannot have more than 20% of the board related by marriage or common law. In that case, it would allow the 2 of you to be on the board because we're a 5-member group. 20% allows for 2.
Right.
It's up to you guys, though. It's really, really, really this defined. I mean, it's however you guys want to lay it out, but we could say no more than 20% of the board shall be related by.
I'm
That's
fine,
up to Sacred.
No.
I mean, whatever
I'm fine.
you feel like you
We're
want to
just
do.
helping. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all.
Yeah, I think you need some accountability, though.
I don't care. What-
He
Whatever.
just wants to run that little big mouth.
Watch your mouth.
I'm so scared.
We'll leave my Lori just as entertainment.
Well, that's what we,
Excellent.
me and Lori can just be entertained. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
Whatever, I mean, whatever y'all think, I'll do whatever.
Not this Lord doesn't.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, I know,
There you
yeah,
go.
I know. Yeah, not Dr. Lori.
Of course, I've never heard this.
There you
Well,
go.
We're gonna watch it.
I've
Did
heard
you
it.
just say non-Dr. Lori?
Dr. Lori.
Did you just say non-Dr. Lori?
No, I said Dr. Lori.
Oh, Dr. Okay. Well,
Y'all,
So,
Go ahead.
all right, so, I'm gonna exclude at the moment, Stacy and Zach. I'm gonna talk to Alice and Randy since we are, a three-party here. Do you want to take a vote, or does anybody want to take a motion either for or against a 20% board related?
I'm for it.
This is the issue, it's not them being, related or whatever, but I don't want their tenures to go up at the same time.
Right,
Time that they go to the board, so we need to make sure that one of them at least is on the board at all times.
I agree 100%.
But if they take positions together at the same time, then they may be falling off the board together.
My suggestion would be to put Stacy in a position of 3 and Zach in a position of 1.
I'm cool with that.
What are your thoughts, Alice? No, it means only it's one, it means only it's 1 year.
I always want to make sure that we're rolling, and when we're rolling, that we have either Stacy or Zach on board. So whatever will.
You know
make
what?
it
Then
where
let me-
we can always play
Let me
out.
change that up then, because this will make more sense until we hit 6 years, even numbers. Let's do Stacy 3, Zach 2. Because Zach could be renewed 1, 2, 3, and then they're both off the board after 3 years. If Zach renews at 2, then he's on for 4, Stacy's in for 3, she renews, now she's in for 6. Come 6 years in, they'd both be back, but there's no way around that.
well, I'm 6 years old.
So what do you think, 2 for Zach and 3 for Stacy?
That's fine with me, I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
it was on us, and know that we always want one of them on there.
I'm gonna make the bylaw that 20% by blood or relation and staggered tenures. And that's just how we'll just word it. We don't actually have to be specific just yet until we actually appoint the full positions. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay. All right.
I like it.
You don't like anything.
Don't like hot beer.
Yeah,
Yes.
see?
And you don't like the bottom of the whole glass either.
Yeah, what is up with that? No offense, Stacey. Every time I
We're
see.
in a board meeting right now.
You guys have the beer,
Yeah, well,
you put them all together and you have like a whole other six pack.
you should talk to Kim at the Coop about that. She says, one of these days I'm gonna keep saving them all, and at the end of the month, I'm gonna be like, here you go, Zach, and hand it back a case of beer. Oh,
Not beer drinking.
just, does not, okay.
It just bothers everybody.
Can I get a motion to? Get something.
All right,
There's a lot of meat.
Yeah.
regular meetings, special meetings, I think all the standard verbiage is fine. I don't think we need to make any changes. Anybody feel like there's any changes that need to be made? I think the standard of at least 2 days' notice for any meeting to be called is acceptable. If you have to have an emergency meeting for something, that everybody gets at least 48 hours notice of it. Anybody have anything regarding that?
It's good to accept.
All right.
Is there any absentee voting?
Oh, good question. Did we get to that yet? Did I already pass that?
I didn't.
I didn't see it.
I thought it's in here, but I don't think. I know we got a quorum. Hold on, let me see.
I might be ahead of
Officers.
myself.
No, that's okay. You know what? I thought it's addressed. I wonder if we already passed it. Give me 1 second. Vacancy, oh, that's vacancies. That's not voting. So you mean voting by proxy? Randy?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Well, yeah, I mean, trying to think.
well, we have to have a quorum.
Maybe you have even.
Well, no, you have to have a quorum, you always have to have a quorum, right? So quorum, you have to have at least 20% of, your voting members in attendance for any business to be conducted. So in this case, we need 2 people, because we're only 5 right now, but it'll grow.
Yeah.
Or not 20, or maybe it's the other way, it's 80%, where's the quorum?
80.
It's 80, thank you. So the majority carries, so in this case, we need 4 of us, which I know is an odd number. But do we allow voting by proxy, like when we send out meetings from the thing before and we know what we're voting on? Can somebody submit their vote by proxy? Okay. Voting by proxy allowed?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And major.
What was that?
in like a major opinion or something.
Right. Major opinion or argument.
I like it.
Okay, so I will write in a special section for voting by proxy. Let me see if I have this right. We will allow voting by proxy, and as well as major opinions or arguments to be set forth at meetings. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Zach seconds it. Anybody against it? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right. Hey guys, we're doing good. All right. So now we get down to the sticky icky here, which is typically board members are not compensated for their participation on the board. The exception being there are times that you compensate an attorney on a board, and there are times that you compensate the CEO. Hey, Stacy. Since we have no funds for right now, my suggestion would be not to necessarily write it out entirely, but to sort of leave it in a general,
Just kind of leave it vague.
the CEO may be compensated upon approval of a full quorum or something like that, which is required anyway. What do you guys think of that, since this is kind of Stacy's job?
Yeah.
Sorry, Stacy, there's no money in the bank right now to pay you, but
You think I'll use, right?
yeah.
Or cruises down the road.
Or cruises. Ooh, I love cruises.
Here we go.
Clear giggle. I love it. All right. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to make sure that this is included. There's obviously organizations it's not as important. In ours, I think it's highly important that we all take once we are up and rolling, that we all take some type of oath of confidentiality, since we may actually be talking about individuals and sensitive material.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we'll develop something then for everybody to review.
You just have to put it out there. I mean, if somebody, it's confidential until it's somebody's at risk. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that guy.
Oh, right. Obviously,
Yeah.
if somebody is in harm, but in business being discussed,
Yeah.
you know, and it may be then that we all agree, you
We just
know,
need to work it the right way.
right, but we all are in agreement that, you know, this needs to be disclosed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not that we would walk away saying, oh my gosh, we were just talking today about so-and-so in our meeting, and that would be unacceptable.
Yeah.
All right. The rest is pretty standard. Officers, we talked about, we will officially put into place a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Anybody want to be treasurer yet? Just for consideration.
I'm no good at money.
Okay.
We might have to find one of them.
I'll take
Right.
it. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
No,
You don't want me to do it.
handle money.
I know.
No, but that might be something for Dan, if he comes on.
Yeah,
Or
Dan, do it.
not. All right,
Maybe.
so not Dan. I just realized, I know, I just realized I said it. I want to make sure I was clear.
He's talking good last night.
So, all right. Nominating of officers is pretty stinking easy stuff. Removal of officers, you don't do your job, 3/4 of us could say goodbye to you. That's pretty simple. We'll do the best we can within 2 weeks to fill vacancies with at least an interim officer. So we're on to Article 7, committees. We don't really have any subcommittees and finance committees. You guys okay if we just use general language and we can develop out those bylaws as we grow?
Yep.
Alice?
Yes, that sounds good.
I don't
Okay.
see no other way you can do it.
What?
We
Yeah, because
gotta-
we're not big enough to
Yeah.
sit here and make, you know, executive committees, finance committees, and so forth. Executive director, I don't even think we really need to go into that because we're just not big enough. conflict of interest and compensation. I think our only conflict of interest we just cleared between Zach and Stacy. So, the rest of the stuff is more procedural, which I think just needs to stay in general informal language. Anybody have any thoughts of that? This is our, okay. In the future, we'll try to, like I said, I got the Zoom up and running and we're recording what we're talking about. Recorded sessions are easy. Of course, we always want someone taking notes for the session and recording the minutes. Welcome, Alice. And then, does anybody want to read real quick the area on compensation, section 5 of the article, and give any input? If not, we can leave it general language again for right now. I'll be on videotape swinging.
I think that because we're gonna be growing and changing, leaving everything as general as you can.
Okay.
And then if specific items come up, we'll address them and make amendments.
Right, we can make amendments to the bylaws, exactly.
Where was that at? What?
You have the page.
I think you're right here.
No, I think you gotta go way further.
I'm like, hey, look, I got it.
Okay, all right, fine.
No,
No, falling behind.
he's close.
That's my fault.
Sorry. Well, I thought you was close anyway, Randy.
Okay. There you go.
There it is. Next page. A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
So, okay, so let me wait for Randy to catch up and see what he has.
Good, go ahead.
Okay, so we generalize that. So here's the big one, and this is the one, if anybody wants to help me, I think, so if you go to sunbiz.org, that's S-U-N, because we're the sunny state of Florida, biz.org, that is the Florida State government website dealing with businesses and corporations, and you can go and pull a lot of this stuff up. I already did pull some of it. But indemnification, I mean, that's just the language we want to make sure we're using so that we don't get sued and that we protect the members of this board. So if somebody makes a big boo-boo, you know, we don't get sued or individually or as an entity. So when I write up these articles, I'm actually going to kind of leave this section blank. I really would like everyone to read it, see if you find anything out there. I'm going to try to find the actual language used for the state of Florida. But are you guys okay with helping to put this together? Because I want to make sure we're protected. And that might be something we can actually address with the attorney.
Yeah, I think that's an attorney question.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
And we've done a lot of stuff on some.
All right.
Do we need to like lock in an attorney? I mean, I know you're gonna get one of them to write the,
Right.
are you gonna just lock in that guy maybe?
Well, I was
We
just
have
using,
one-
I mean, if you have somebody that we can talk to, I was literally just looking at, like, you know, the cheap online, you don't want the basic
Well, no,
$199
I-
package, but like
I
this
want-
$300 package where,
I want the $3,000 package, no.
No, well, I think we talked to Dan. You know, he deals a lot with Bay Medical.
you know what, that's not a bad idea, actually.
You know, Dan, you know, he'll know a good lawyer as far as.
Well, I know Larry Perry, but I can't afford Larry Perry.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe pro bono, I mean, you know, being an
That's right.
nonprofit, I mean, you know, if they wanna get involved.
Right.
I think Dan knows that guy. Or-
See if Dan does. I mean, I could always hit up Larry Perry. I don't know how much pro bono he's going to do and waive. I don't know a whole lot of attorneys. Sometimes they'll do reduced cut though, or something like, you know. So everyone's got homework then. I mean, let's, you know, I'd say talk to Dan.
knows me once, so.
I'd say talk to Dan.
I really don't know him,
Yeah, I mean, I can try to talk to Larry Perry, you talk to Dan, we'll see best case scenario, what we can come up with. We can tell them we've already
Are
developed
you
our
talking
bylaw.
about Dan and,
Yes,
Yeah, more,
Kathy Clifton?
yeah,
yeah,
City's married.
I feel like he would do it. Him and I had a long discussion, about the organization. And my personal opinion is he would do it because we even spoke about maybe, bringing Kathy on board
that's
to
a
help
good,
us.
that's a good idea, Kathy'd be a big help too.
So he is a lawyer?
he's not a lawyer.
Oh,
Well, his education is,
He's
Oh,
not
is he?
practicing right now, but he is.
Oh, I didn't realize he was a JD, all right, perfect.
he's all.
I had no idea he had his JD, all right. So, I mean, you know, all right. Zach, that is your assignment, you're to go talk to Dan.
I got it.
Wanna write that down? Okay.
Yeah, you be on that.
oh, man.
So look, I just got Dan.
I'm writing in the notes. Zach will contact Dan.
Fine.
I talk to Dan every day, so we'll be there.
All right, good. That's good, good, good. All right. Books and records, Alice, when I see you, I'll be turning over to you. I started the corporate binder. It's all your baby now, honey. Books and record, we will maintain a corporate binder. That's pretty standard. And the last article then just talks about as we go along, the amendments that we'll make. And then once we go through this, all acting board members right now will have to sign off on the bylaws. Anybody have anything to add? All right, I make a motion. Do we move forward with the bylaws in regard to all issues discussed today? Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All right, second. Anyone want to oppose? Motion carries. Bylaws are in the works. All right, let's see what else we got. We already did extension rules. Principal office, what is going to be the principal office address? Zach and Stacy, is that gonna be your address?
I would do Lake Town right now, but when I
Yeah, you wanna do the condo for the Florida address?
get that building built, we can swap it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause we
Okay.
got
I'm
one
gonna have an
house,
office
so
out there, so.
hopefully we
All right,
got
so
one more
I'm at
house.
the other end of the building. Mine is 9860. What is your street number?
9902.
9902.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I know South Thomas. Unit number?
629.
All right, I got the rest.
Do you got the key to that box?
32408.
Yeah, it's the same as mine with the exception of my street address is different than theirs, because I'm at the other end of the building.
To the mailbox?
Yeah. It should be down there.
Okay.
Oh, you should see the look.
Yeah,
I'm here.
no.
Okay, when we actually have funds, okay, I can apply for the EIN. I actually just applied yesterday for an EIN for my honors club. That's what it looks like. Once we have an EIN, we can then open a bank account. Don't actually have to have anything in it. But, typically the president or another officer, you guys okay hanging out with that until we get a treasurer in place?
Yes.
Since we don't actually have any funds to work with anyway? Okay.
Getting the EIN number?
I can get the EIN number if you guys want it, or Alice, Stacy, either one of you guys want to do that?
Either way, I can, it's, I'm assuming it's a piece of paper and filing?
Yeah, you go into the IRS website and fill out information.
It's the same thing.
I can show you when you're here.
Okay,
Okay,
You do the same thing you do for my businesses.
yeah, okay, I
Okay.
just making sure it's the same as, at home.
alright, so we get the attorney, that's the next one, the file for tax exemption. Have the attorney work on the 501 C3. I started to look up the state statutes. And I really didn't see anything. Does anybody want to take on?
I just think we need a bank account, even though there's not any money in it right now. Because if we have fundraisers, Zach and Stacy will have to come out of pocket some in order, and then that way it would all be recorded.
Right, but we don't actually have a board yet, we don't actually have an official treasurer yet. Hopefully we'll have that in the next couple of weeks once we get everything adopted through. If not, either you or Stacy right now as the designated interim officers of the board could go and open a bank account, we just gonna leave it empty. I just didn't know if you wanted to wait until we had a full authorized board in place and a treasurer in place, but we can go either way.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna have a fundraiser.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
something like
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I just.
We'll get you on the end number, go ahead and get it ready.
All right, so how about we table that to be discussed at next meeting?
What, if you said quarterly, is that like 4 times a year, are we doing a special meeting?
Well, we're gonna be doing special meetings before then, because we're just trying to roll out, but
Okay.
one of the things I thought, since we're coming into the holiday, I'm
Right.
gonna try to get all this done this weekend. Roll it out, because I expect everybody to put some red dye through it, you know what I mean, like, make their suggestions, and we'll work a voting, type of process until we shake out those bylaws, and then we can put them through, because we need those to put through the articles of incorporation.
Well, if y'all want to do a fundraiser in February, I think we need to meet back every 2 weeks until we get it up. You know what I'm saying? To
Mhm.
give everybody homework to do, get the stuff going.
Twice a month.
Yeah, until we get it
Oh, I
going.
agree,
Because you know how it goes.
right,
It's procrastinated if you don't.
Yeah, we'll do that under special meetings.
so required meetings will be quarterly, but there'll be special meetings,
48
especially
hour notice.
48 hours notice and stuff. So let's talk about that right now, because that actually is kind of good segue. Next thing, set meeting dates. When do we want to meet again?
I would do the week after Thanksgiving.
The week after
Right.
Thanksgiving? So, you want to do a Friday again? That would be December 6th? Or do you want to do a different day?
Friday work for you, Amy?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
That work for you, Amy?
I will be, okay, the 6th of December. Yeah, I'll be here. Lori, yeah, she's out of town. She hasn't met me. When she's out of town, I know I'll be here, so.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's what's like, Friday, I know I can always get this room. The dean has agreed, since we're formulating, to sign off on other space in the building if we ever need to use it. It just, stuff books here a year or two in advance, conference rooms, everything, it's just booked out all the time here.
Yeah.
So this room I can get easily.
Well, this is,
It's fine.
Is that right?
you got your recording.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simple, it's not as pretty as the other rooms, the other rooms are nice. Okay, all right then, so for right now, we'll set it for Friday, December 6th, same time?
Sure.
I feel that kind of, all right. If we need to change it, that's fine, just, all right, so now I'm gonna open the floor to anyone need comments, announcements? Good of the order, remember the third thing. Comments, announcements, or good of the order?
I need to know, like, are we going forward with this fundraiser in February, and are we gonna obtain a date, and
I would say it would be, it would be good to go forward with the fundraiser, but I think we're so far away from it right now,
But I
in
think-
formulation, and I mean, even then, we don't even have objectives yet, that's,
okay, well, let me just say here, I'm a certified event planner, and you do have, there is time that's involved.
oh, I know that,
Well, that's what I was saying about the meetings. I mean, it depends on how much we get done in these next couple of meetings, really.
I'd go ahead tentatively and put it on there. I mean, we need to get started and get it going after the first.
Well-
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that we need, and then in order to get people to donate items for
Yep.
raffles and all that, I mean, it should have already been started.
absolutely, I mean, it's an aggressive, to try to do something in February is extremely aggressive at this point in the formulation of an organization that doesn't really exist yet.
Yeah, that's.
So I think it's doable, but it's gonna be, so I'm gonna be honest, like I said, I absolutely wholeheartedly give you guys as much that I have in resources, but my dance card is so full. So, I will do as much as I can, but, February to me is, I love it, I love events, I've done so many galas and stuff. It's just really aggressive. I think we could probably do it, but I don't have as much time
No,
as
we
is
can
gonna
do-
be needed to do it.
I just want it.
I can do the whole event. I mean, I don't have a problem with doing the whole event.
Okay,
But in order to do it, I need to have some funding because I have to buy bracelets for people to get in. I have to buy decorations, and I can get airtime for free. But there's so much involved.
right, well, I mean, the decorations and
Creating
stuff,
an event.
the decorations and stuff, I mean, that stuff can come, after the holidays even. The promo side of it, putting together all the PR for it, obviously needs to come into play earlier, because it also needs to be voted on and everything, but,
Right.
So
So I'm just saying we need to establish that as soon as this is done, and then as soon as I can get a number, I can plan an event. I just don't want it to get so bogged down into making sure every T is crossed, that we don't miss out on the opportunity for what we really want, which is funding.
right, but again, we don't even know what we're funding for. I mean, we know an organization needs money, but are we funding to buy curriculum to use? These training programs, yeah,
Well, let's just make that decision on the 6th. That way.
all right, so
I mean,
we've got 2 weeks then to sort of, everybody's got,
okay.
Tell Alice I'll send her an email.
That'll give you almost,
As soon as
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from the 6th, I mean, if you're gonna do it like.
Right.
You wouldn't wanna do it around
Valentine's Day,
or
no,
something.
no.
You wanna do it- yeah, so that's in the latter part of February, so
February,
that's almost 3 months.
You'd be unsuccessful because everyone's thinking lovey and not
Right.
tragedy, so.
Well, but, a lot of times, maybe March too. I mean, because a lot of people, I don't know, just in my military experience, a lot of people there's more suicides in the spring than there is any time.
Well, they do a lot around the holidays.
Yeah, there's more in the
Holidays are
spring,
hectic.
when
Really?
like, when the leaves are changing and everything's getting prettier and, we up on
I will actually, I'll look for the studies on it, because,
it. We had to go through
so
all
you
that.
would think
so-
that would almost inspire hope instead
Right,
of,
well-
like newness.
Valentine's Day always
Rebirthing.
makes me sad.
Right,
No, yeah, I think 6 you'd have that.
Yeah.
And as far as like getting stuff to.
Because even then, even if it's not late February, we just push, because I know she was trying to
Donated
tie it in
for
with Mardi Gras.
I can get all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Pictures, albums.
all that-
Maybe
all
I get
that-
Lori let go of some of her paintings that she's done.
Oh, she paints.
Huh?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Clothes that she doesn't wear.
Right.
She signs off. But anyway, we can get some
We
money.
can, right,
Yeah,
we
we
can,
can
we
get
can,
some-
we can
get
filter
something.
into all of that.
Right.
All right,
I think it'd be fine. So
All
we
right,
can,
I just wanted it out there.
Yeah.
and just so that it's not forgotten.
nope, I got it. So,
work on the date on the 6th. That's gonna be part of our meeting.
Major factor.
Major thing.
all right, so Alice, I would say for the next meeting then, put together a side agenda of all the things that need to be considered for the fundraiser and all the tasks that need to be divided out.
Okay.
So, all right. Once again, any more additional announcements, comments, or anything for the good of the order?
I think that's it.
I motion to adjourn the meeting. Second the motion. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
You got a fact?
No, there's not a gavel. God. This isn't a courtroom.
You got that big coffee cup.
It's not. So this was handmade from Tanzania.
Very pretty.
So thank you.
All right.
All righty.
All good.
Now that we are in the informal session of this, anybody have anything to add?
Thanks for joining us, by the way, ladies.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that the video didn't work. We're watching ourselves on video, but unfortunately we don't have you guys on there.
We look good too, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
We do
Oh,
look
I
good.
guess you did.
We do look good.
Okay, me not so much today. Sorry, guys.
That was pretty hot.
We're hot smoking.
All right.
All right, lady, gotta go.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Alice.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I don't want to get that fundraiser going.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of, well,
Beating up.
It
That's
really-
what I'm trying to explain this to her. Like,
I
I want to get
know.
it set up the right way. And then we can go do whatever we need to.
No offense, I've said it before and I don't, this is gonna come across harsh, I wish they were still on the phone. I 100% support and will do everything for you. If it's not gonna be structured, I worked too hard for what I've got, I will not risk being a part of something that's gonna go.
You got a structure going now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I know, and I'm all right with like this,
No,
but
yeah,
I just wanna
you
make
got a
sure
good
like,
Structure going.
I wanna just make sure that everybody knows like I'm
All right,
I'm on board.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
What's impressive?
Everything.
Your structure.
Oh,
shit.
Going, no, really. You dotted the i's and crossed the
Yeah.
t's right there.
Aw.
On a lot of stuff. man.
Loves.
But that's what we
We
do.
shut down the meeting.
And that's what you do.
But I do think Randy
Now,
needs
if
to
you
be.
had some plants or something like that, then I could help you.
Right.
Landscaping designs, whatever.
Need the meeting.